to the tape, covering the movies, books, any and everything. So if it's 9:30 and you're sitting on your ass, dark outside and you want time pass, come take a seat about once every week and listen to a late take breakdown piece.
1982. A movie theater goes dark. The screen flickers to life. A single man sits in a hotel room staring blankly at a television. No dialogue, just the droning hum of isolation. This is Pink Floyd The Wall, one of the strangest, most ambitious, and most polarizing rock films ever made. It's not a standard music documentary. It's not a traditional narrative. It's an hour and 40 minutes of surreal visuals, psychological breakdown, and some of the most iconic music in rock history. Before we dive in, I just want to thank you for clicking on this video. If you'd like to check out more of our content, feel free to browse the channel. And if you want to keep up with our latest uploads, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a like if you enjoy the video. With that out of the way, let's get into the twisted story of Pink Floyd, The Wall.
All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
But the story of The Wall begins long before the cameras rolled. It began with one man's alienation from his audience, a crumbling band dynamic, and a desire to build a wall, not in brick and mortar, but in metaphor and sound. Today, we're breaking down the production background, the tumultuous filming process, the symbolism hidden in its most famous scenes, and the story of Pink, the character at the heart of this rock opera fever dream. The year's 1977. Pink Floyd is at the peak of their fame. Their last album, Animals, had been a critical and commercial success. The band is touring stadiums around the world, playing to tens of thousands every night. But for bassist and primary songwriter Roger Waters, something feels wrong. During one stadium show in Montreal, Waters became so frustrated with the audience's rowdy, disconnected behavior that he spat on a fan. That night, he went back to his hotel room and began to imagine a literal wall between himself and the crowd.
After Dark Side of the Moon, suddenly everybody knows who you are, so they all come to the gig, and only 50% of them are even faintly interested in what you're doing. They're there because it's the thing to do. So they go and they get pissed, and they think that the thing rock and roll audiences are supposed to do is shout and whistle all the time, which they still do to this day. I even had that in relatively smaller venues on the tour that I've just done. And it's a pain in the arse. It must be unbearable for people who are in the audience who've come to listen if you've got some arsehole standing next to you going all the way through everything, you know. Senselessly. Senselessly, mindlessly, hopelessly, yeah. You know.
That wall became the conceptual backbone of The Wall. First as an album, then a live performance, and eventually a film. From the very beginning, the project was personal. Waters drew from his own life, his father killed in World War II, his strained relationship with his mother, his hatred of the British school system, his feelings of being trapped in fame. Each of these became bricks in the wall that would form around his fictional stand-in, a character named Pink. By the time the album was released in 1979, Waters was already imagining a film adaptation. The idea was unconventional, part concert footage from The Wall live shows, part live-action narrative, part animation. He brought in illustrator Gerald Scarfe, who had worked on the band's stage visuals to design animated sequences. Scarfe's style was grotesque, political, and dreamlike, perfect for the story Waters wanted to tell. Initially, Waters considered playing Pink himself, but quickly realized acting wasn't his strength. The role eventually went to Bob Geldof, frontman of the Boomtown Rats. Geldof wasn't even a Pink Floyd fan at the time. In fact, he thought the idea sounded pretentious, but he took the job anyway. The director's chair went to Alan Parker, known for Midnight Express and Fame. Parker was a Pink Floyd fan, but he soon learned this would be no ordinary movie.
To show everybody what's going into making, some of this movie. I'm trying to get my words here, but in most of my very few of my movies that I've done have I actually set out and created, footage and created scenes and stuff like that. I always used the media that I had captured naturally, And in the last couple of videos, I started to, create, my own stuff. And I think that it's really started to, help the videos along and just match things up a little bit better as far as what's going on with the movie itself.
The Wall's production team had three strong personalities. Roger Waters, fiercely protective of his vision. Alan Parker, determined to make a cinematic masterpiece. Gerald Scarfe, balancing his surreal animation with the film's tone. It didn't take long for tensions to explode. Parker would later call the production one of the most miserable experiences of my life. Waters, meanwhile, described it as unnerving and unpleasant. Scarfe was caught in the middle, delivering stunning animation, but often walking into meetings where Parker and Waters were at each other's throats. This tension spilled over into the set. Geldof, who had to embody Pink's mental collapse, was left confused by the lack of a traditional script. Instead, he was given sequences of lyrics, symbolic imagery, and vague direction. The plan to use live concert footage quickly fell apart. The Earl's Court footage from the Wall tour was underlit and unusable. So Parker rebuilt the massive stage at Pinewood Studios, filming Geldof performing songs like Mother and Hey You as if they were live. Other scenes were shot in far more dangerous conditions. The riot sequences for Another Brick in the Wall were filmed at Beckton Gasworks, an abandoned industrial site in East London. Real fire, collapsing walls, and smoke filled the air as extras smashed windows and set debris alight. For the school scenes, production built a massive human meat grinder prop, shoving faceless students along a conveyor belt. The visual became one of the film's most famous, a brutal metaphor for the dehumanizing British school system. Geldof threw himself into the role, sometimes literally. In the hotel room scene where Pink smashes a window, Geldof sliced his hand open on real glass, and the take stayed in the final cut. Gerald Scarfe's animation wasn't just filler, it was the film's subconscious. In Goodbye Blue Sky, cartoon bombers transform into iron crosses, stars of David, and hammers, symbolizing the senseless destruction of war. In Empty Spaces, flowers morph into lovers, then into predators, representing the toxic decay of relationships. And in The Trial, the animation becomes grotesque caricature, a screaming mother, a sadistic schoolmaster, a cruel ex-wife, all putting Pink on trial inside his own mind. Scarfe worked in near isolation, often delivering fully completed sequences to Parker, who had little input over their final form. So what is The Wall about? The film follows the life of Pink, a fictional rock star whose experiences mirror Roger Waters. Childhood, Pink's father is killed too. His mother becomes overprotective. School, he faces cruelty and humiliation from teachers. Fame, Pink becomes a rock star but feels disconnected from his audience. Love, his marriage collapses amid infidelity. Isolation, he retreats into drugs, paranoia, and emotional numbness. Each event becomes a brick in his wall, a psychological barrier between himself and the outside world. In the third act, Pink hallucinates that he is a fascist dictator leading violent rallies. The marching hammers of Scarfe's animation symbolize blind conformity. Finally, Pink is put on trial, a surreal courtroom where his accusers are all twisted versions of the people in his life. The verdict? Tear down the wall. The wall crumbles and the film ends ambiguously. Is Pink free, or is this just another cycle of his mind? When The Wall premiered in July 1982, it divided critics. Some praised it as a bold, visionary art film. Others dismissed it as self-indulgent. The film grossed about $22 million, modest but enough to become a cult classic. Over the years, it's been reappraised as one of the greatest rock films ever made. Even so, the people who made it remain critical. Waters, Parker, and Scarfe all described the experience as miserable. Geldof said he found the role emotionally exhausting. Today, Pink Floyd The Wall is more than a movie. It's a cultural artifact. It's been screened at midnight showings, analyzed in film schools, and reimagined in live performances. Its imagery, the marching hammers, the screaming teacher, the collapsing wall, is instantly recognizable even to people who've never seen the full film. More than 40 years later, The Wall stands as a reminder of the dangers of isolation, the trauma of war, and the human cost of building walls, literal or emotional. In the end, The Wall is exactly what it set out to be, a rock opera about the price of disconnection. A wall can protect you, but it can also trap you. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is tear it down. And that just about wraps up the twisted, fascinating story behind Pink Floyd The Wall. It's more than just an album. It's an experience, a statement, and a piece of rock history that continues to resonate decades later. Whether you see it as a surreal concept record, a psychological journey, or a cultural critique, it's safe to say The Wall left its mark on music forever. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let us know your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite track or moment from The Wall? Do you see it more as a personal story or as a reflection of society as a whole? I'd love to hear how you interpret it. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, keep listening, keep questioning, and keep the music alive. This has been The Lake Take, and I'll catch you in the next one.